It's all over. Real Madrid have won El Clasico with El Remontada, a comeback. Obviously, we know the main man who did it for them, Jude Bellingham. We've got so much to unpack and talk about after this result. So let's go ahead and get in straight into it without further ado. G, as the Real Madrid fan, how are you feeling and what are your thoughts on obviously Real Madrid beating Barca in El Clasico?
Before I get into this, I just have to. I'm a little parched here, you know. Barcelona tears, so refreshing. Look, this game can be summed up in just just a small statement. One team has Jude Bellingham, the other team does not. That's it. That's all this game is. That's all you have to say. Because okay, first half, Real Madrid come out. They're a bit, not looking so great. They couldn't really handle the pressure of Barcelona early on, and we see this a lot from Real Madrid. They're slow starters. They tend to concede first almost all the time. They kind of always want to put themselves in tough situations, but that's why we expect so much from them to come back and win these. So immediately from the start of the second half, they make the changes that need to happen. Camavinga comes straight on for Ferland Mendy, and Luka Modric ends up coming on later on to completely change the game. Real Madrid started to press more, and then we started to see that man started to feel it. Jude Bellingham started to get more into the game because look, he didn't look so great the first half. He was a bit, not all the way there, but boy, did he come alive in the second half. And he was the driving factor. He was the reason that Real Madrid won this game. He's a reason that Real Madrid are top of the league right now. 13 games, 13 goals. There's not really much to say about Jude Bellingham. I mean, this guy is breaking every expectation that was put upon him. I mean, there was so much pressure to Jude Bellingham coming to Real Madrid because we don't necessarily see English players succeeding that much abroad, that ones that don't play in the Premier League. It's a lot of pressure, especially coming to Real Madrid. We've seen great players like, more recently Eden Hazard, a player that came for 100 million, was arguably the best player in the Premier League, and flopped at Real Madrid. He could never really get his foothold. But Jude Bellingham's come here and taken the fucking whole world by storm. This guy's made Real Madrid his team. He's the guy. He's the face of Real Madrid, and he's the best player in the world right now. Without a doubt, there's no one even close because he's a game changer. Most of his goals come at the 80th and 90th minute. If you look at most of his goals, that's when he scores. I mean, it's just remarkable. This guy is unbelievable. There's not enough words to describe how great this guy is. Honestly, he's made me love the game again more. I don't really understand I don't even know how to explain it just because of how he makes me feel about the game. I mean, it's literally, I don't know what to say because he's just that transcendent of a player. And I know it's not touching on much about Barcelona because it's just that I can understand this is a very key fixture in the title race. As much as people want to say, oh, it's real early. We saw this last season. Look, I don't care. I'm talking about this season right now. Away from home, Real Madrid needed to get a win to go back top of the league, and that's what they did. So I don't care. I don't want to hear about any injuries, anything of Barcelona, any fucking tears they want to have that Jude Bellingham gets lucky. Xavi, your tears are fucking delicious, dude. I love your tears. All of them. I love to hear them complain just because that's what's always going to happen. They can't really accept that they're the small club. I mean, compared to the two of us, they're the small club. You're the banter club here. Like, come on. Like, we have to use it to understand that and accept that. And the sooner they do that, the better off,
Well, look, I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and go that far. I mean, obviously, Real Madrid, they got the result here. You have to give them full credit to that. I think going into this Clasico, it was honestly, to me, a bit 50-50. I didn't really know who to predict to win this game. Obviously, Barcelona coming into the match, they had a lot of injuries. We weren't sure about the fitness of Lewandowski. We didn't know about the fitness of Rafinha. Obviously, De Jong out, Pedri out. They are dealing with a lot of injuries right now. It's a bit unfortunate. Obviously, that is going to set them back when we're talking about winning La Liga because, like you said, you can say that it's early and this game is not going to affect that much in title race, but it is. This is a massive 3 points. And you look at the fact, I mean, look, obviously, when you think of who's going to win La Liga, you think of Barcelona and Real Madrid and also maybe Atletico. But right now, you have to look at Girona are right there, level on points with Real Madrid. They're right now, Barca sitting 4 points behind Girona. Obviously, I'm not saying I'm going to expect them to carry on that form for the whole season. But obviously, this is a big 3 points when you now look at it. Barcelona are now 4 points behind Real Madrid. And given the way that Jude Bellingham and this whole Real Madrid team is playing, I don't necessarily, it's not going to be easy for them to make up that 4-point gap. Obviously, I come away from this game thinking, yes, Barcelona lost this game, but it's not the end of the world. I thought they played well. Honestly, you could say in some ways they were unlucky to not get the draw. A draw I think could have been seen as a very fair result. Obviously, it just comes down to the difference maker, who in this case, it was Jude Bellingham. And this is who he's been the difference maker for Real Madrid the whole season. When they've needed him the most, when they've struggled a little bit, who has been the guy to break the deadlock and make it happen? I think about the game against Union Berlin in the Champions League. It was Jude Bellingham. And I think about this game, it was Jude Bellingham, because you look at Real Madrid in the first half, they struggled, weren't playing their best football. Obviously, you could say Barca got a little bit lucky with the goal from Gundogan, but that's how it happens. That's how football is. Barca were playing well. They created chances. They hit the post. And they did all of this without Lewandowski. They did this without Rafinha. Obviously, they both got subbed on later on in the match, but they're doing it without Pedri. They're doing it without De Jong, who you could say are probably their two most important players. So their midfield is not quite full strength. But then it comes down to the fact that Real Madrid have Jude Bellingham, and that's just what it is. I mean, I can pretend to hate on him all that I want, but Jude Bellingham, he's that guy. Right now, yeah, you can have your Erling Haaland, you can have your Mbappes. Right now, Jude Bellingham is the best player in the world. On current form, he's the best player in the world. Look at what he's doing for Real Madrid. It's actually remarkable, because coming in, obviously, there's a lot of pressure. English, big price tag. You're coming into a team in Real Madrid who last season, let's just be honest, they failed in the Champions League. They lost 4-0. Jude Bellingham is coming in, young superstar. He's expected to make the difference, and it's exactly what he has done. He's come in, and he's made people forget about Vinicius Jr. He's made people literally forget that Vinicius Jr. was supposed to be the guy that's leading this Real Madrid the next generation, and now it's Jude. Jude Bellingham is the face of Real Madrid, and Vinny is now kind of his sidekick. Vinny is literally in Jude's comments saying, "You're the new Ronaldo." Vinny, you were supposed to be the new Ronaldo, but now Jude has done so well, so early on, that Vinny is kind of taking the back seat. And people are kind of forgetting that Vinny is not necessarily playing up to his standards, or I think, obviously, there's a lot of different factors for that, but Vinny has not been playing that great this season. But Jude has been so good that it's masked all of the other issues that they have. So it's actually just incredible what he's been able to do. Right now, I was going to ask this to you, but right now I just have to be honest. If this goes on, and I think it will, he's showing no signs of slowing up. Jude Bellingham is the easily runaway favorite to win the Ballon d'Or. Because look, when you think about it, Real Madrid have a very good chance to win La Liga, of course. They have a very good chance to win the Champions League. They're always going to be there. They are the kings of the Champions League. And England have a very, very good chance at winning the Euros. It's between them and France. So what's stopping Jude Bellingham from winning the Ballon d'Or, especially if he keeps on this form? I mean, he's putting up Ronaldo-type numbers. And obviously, no Messi, no Ronaldo anymore. Somebody new is going to win the Ballon d'Or. And yes, Haaland is still scoring goals, but he's not quite has been as remarkable as last season. Mbappe's playing for PSG, so they're not going to win the Champions League. And he could have a very crazy Euros, and that's obviously going to put him in the conversation. But what Jude is doing for the biggest club in the world, the biggest club in the history of football, he's English. They have, let's just be honest, England have a fantastic squad. Yes, they have Gareth Southgate. But this team, if that England team can't win the Euros, I don't know what to say. Especially,
I think it's time to give up if you're an England fan.
Yeah, like honestly, France are good, but that England team,
England's better.
England, that team should win the Euros. Honestly, led by Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham has a very, very good chance of winning the Ballon d'Or, and it's just actually remarkable. So you just have to give him credit. But if there's a silver lining for Barca, I still think if they get healthy, this team has a chance to get hot and make a run in the Champions League in the same way Real Madrid do. But obviously, it might not necessarily be their year to win La Liga. It might be Real Madrid's year. But I still think in January, you never know quite about the funds of Barcelona, if they can afford it. But if they can make a signing, I think in the attack, or, maybe they play Lamine Yamal more, but I think they need a little bit more in the attack.
Maybe get another loan player.
They can get someone in the attack, and they get healthy. They get De Jong, and they get Pedri back healthy. This team can make a run and win the Champions League. I think, they have a solid defense. The midfield, if they're healthy, is strong. Probably need a little bit more in attack. I think Joao Felix has been playing well. You need Lewandowski fit. You need everyone fit, and I think that maybe you need one more piece, and this team is good enough to win the Champions League. Right now, I kind of see the Champions League is very wide open. Madrid are there. Man City are always going to be there. If Barcelona do what I think they're going to do and get healthy, they're going to be there. Bayern are going to be there with Harry Kane. I think any of those teams could win it, honestly. So, I know we're talking about a loss in a Clasico, and I'm saying they could win the Champions League, but I'm just saying that's a silver lining I take away from this game. Because Barca didn't necessarily play that bad. Honestly, you could say they deserved a draw. And I like their squad depth because they were doing it with guys like Fermin Lopez, guys that necessarily aren't supposed to be starters for this team. A lot of La Masia players. And, I take away If they can get healthy, get their main guys in, have these guys coming off the bench as squad players, I think they'll be fine. I like what I saw from Real Madrid. Also, honestly, I like what I saw from Barca, but the most important thing is they won. I mean, Real Madrid won. It's as simple as that. And obviously, Jude Bellingham, the main man. I mean, you got to do the celebration.
The main man. Yeah. And I mean, look, Barca's struggling a lot of the things that Real Madrid struggled with last season. Fitness issues. Some of your best players just not being available when you need them the most. And that's just how it is. That's how the game is. That's how football is. So I'm not really going to give them that much of a pass on it. And especially they went 1-0 up. I mean, you go 1-0 up at home, you should be able. And the way that Barca play on defense is so frustrating. I fucking hate it. They literally basically put every man behind the ball other than Ferran Torres. Ferran Torres will just camp up there, cherry picking. They got everybody behind the hall. They're very difficult to break down. So I mean, the fact that Madrid are able to come up and come back, because it took basically a screamer from Jude, because I mean that's the only thing Barca were giving them, and then it took a bit of luck, from Luka Modric, but that's just how it is. They got very lucky with their fucking goal. I mean, that shit was pretty fucking lucky. But overall, I think another point that I took from leaving this game was the problem with Vinicius. You mentioned Vinicius, and I mean, I started to realize this more as the game was going on, that, Jude Bellingham comes into this team, and obviously he's predicted to be, a very good player because he's 100 million. He has a lot of promise. And the crazy thing is, a lot of people, I remember we had the same conversation that why do Madrid really need Jude Bellingham? I mean, their midfield's already set. We looked at that midfield. It's very deep. They have a lot of young talent in the midfield. It's like, you don't really need Jude Bellingham. But now, yes, they very much needed Jude Bellingham. And now that Jude is getting those talks that, he's the most likely, if any player on Real Madrid is going to win a Ballon d'Or, it's Jude Bellingham. Before, it wasn't like that. It was Vinicius. I mean, he's the one that's been the highest ranked on the FIFA rankings over Jude. And it's like that was the guy that was expected to take over when Benzema left. But I'm starting to see, and I'm sure everybody's starting to see that Vinny's just not a leader. I think that's what the problem is. He doesn't have a leader's mentality, because what I see when he plays teams like Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, he lets the emotion get too much to him. It's too personal to him, and it affects his play, because I think of the Vinny that torches Liverpool. The game that it was at the last season against Man City in the Bernabeu, him torching Man City, him torturing Chelsea. I mean, look, every other team that's not Atletico or Barca, he torches them. I mean, this is stuff that Vinny does. That's the guy that we say that guy can win a Ballon d'Or. But when it comes to these matches against Barcelona, where he has obviously the rivalry against Araujo, the hatred that he has for the fans and the hatred the fans have towards him, look, I get all that. I get that. Look, Spain's racist, man. I mean, unfortunately, most of Europe are still very racist. I mean, they're going to throw bananas at you. They're going to do very atrocious, disgusting things. But Vinny has to understand that a lot of great players have dealt with that, but you have to be able to don't let it bother you. Play football. There's so many times to where he's falling, he's crying, he's whining every single second. He's asking for fouls. It's like, you have to get up and play, because it's affecting him. He's not getting back on attack. As soon as he loses the ball, he wants a foul, and he's just sitting there. It's like, Vinny, you have to get up and lead the team. And that's what Jude Bellingham's coming this team. A guy that doesn't speak fucking Spanish is a leader of this team. I mean, he's a momentum pusher. I mean, this guy that sparks the team alive. And that's what you would expect from Vinny, a guy who's been on the team for way longer tenured. And look, he speaks the same language as the team. I mean, there's no language barrier there. I mean, look, the only real Spanish words Jude knows is vamos. I mean, realistically. But the thing with Jude, he leads with his play. He leads by example. This is how you are a proper footballer, because he has that, that poshness of an Englishman. I mean, he's very, he has those leader characteristics. And it's just kind of made me realize that Jude, not Jude, but Vinny is more of he's kind of a second guy. Like he's a very elite player, but I don't see him as a leader. I'm seeing more of a bit of a Neymar, unfortunately. I mean, as great as Neymar can never be the best player on a winning team, because he doesn't have the mentality for it. He doesn't have very much leader in him, in my opinion, because we saw that with Brazil. We saw that with PSG. As soon as he left Barcelona to go prove that, hey, I can do it on my own, I could do it as the guy, he wasn't the guy.
Yeah.
He didn't. So I see a bit of that in Vinny. And I'm not too bothered in it. I'm not gonna, cry myself to sleep. Oh my God, Vinny's not gonna be that guy because we have Jude. I mean,
I mean, it's
if
great to
we
have both of them, you know?
it's great to have
Vinny's still
both
a
of them.
fantastic player, don't get us
Yeah,
wrong, you know?
Vinny's still very good. And look, they're playing him a bit of out of position. It's a new role that they're trying to kind of
Force him into, yeah.
push him into. And he was coming off an injury early on later in the season that caused him to miss a couple games. So his numbers are going to be, not as good as you would expect. I think Rodrigo and Vinny only have like 3 goals combined between both of them. It's not very good. But when you have a guy like Jude Bellingham that's going to be the leader and that's going to be the best player, and Vinny looks like he's okay with, Jude's the best player, that's fine. I'm glad I'm here on the ride, basically.
Yeah.
And he's still an elite player. No one's going to ever say Vinny's not elite, but I started to realize that more watching the game, that he needs to grow up a little bit. I mean, it's because it's frustrating, because I want to see Vinny succeed against these teams, especially against his main haters. I mean, Barca hate him. Atletico hate him. I mean, they got a doll and they hung it and they burned it. I mean, that's how much they hate this guy. But he lets that get to him, and hopefully that changes with his age, because I want to see Vinny break that thing. I don't want him just to be another Neymar. I want him to be better than Neymar.
Yeah.
So
I do also, somewhat agree with what you're saying. I think also in these big matches, especially against Spanish rivals, he does kind of let the emotions get to him, and that can affect his play. Obviously, they both know what they're trying to do to stop Vinny. I think they do it very well, both Atletico and Barca. Obviously, Barca have Araujo, and that's obviously going to always make life very difficult for Vinny. Obviously, but I think even beyond that, it's also a little bit of what you're saying. But then I would also say another reason why Vinny hasn't necessarily been at the level that he's been at before is obviously he doesn't have Benzema to play off of. Obviously, it's always going to be very difficult. Jude has kind of not necessarily been a Benzema replacement, but he's replaced the output of Benzema. But he still doesn't necessarily have that striker to play off of, and that's always been Vinny's bread and butter. He plays better when he's playing off of a guy like Benzema. They were a 1-2 punch. You know what I mean? That's what made that Real Madrid team so good. When Benzema won the Ballon d'Or, he was playing off of Vinny. Vinny was playing off of him. They were an elite duo. Obviously, he doesn't quite have that anymore. Now Vinny is playing as a striker with Rodrigo. They're not really going to play off each other. They're both trying to do the same thing. Let's just be honest here. Real Madrid, they still lack that main man as a striker. Jude, they're kind of playing him honestly as a striker. He kind of is
a false nine.
He's not like a false nine, but he's not quite a Benzema or a Harry Kane, that type of guy. And obviously, I still think Madrid lacks that. I still think that when push comes to shove in the Champions League, in the later rounds against a team like Man City, when they're playing Man City potentially in a semifinal or a final, that could be the difference. That could be why this team doesn't win the Champions League. Obviously, remains to be seen. It's, very far down the line. But I think why we're seeing Vinny and also Rodrigo not necessarily play as good as we've seen them in the past is because of this new system. I just think it's not quite suited for them. The team is playing well in it. They're top of the league. They've been winning games, so you can't necessarily complain about it too much. But I think individually, they're still going to take time for them to adjust. I'm not saying it could never work. I'm not saying, they're always going to necessarily be like this. I'm just saying for now, they're still adjusting, still getting used to it. I mean, Vinny is better and he's more effective on the wing, straight up on the wing, playing next to a true striker like a Benzema. He's always going to be more effective like that, in my opinion. So kind of remains to be seen how it's going to play out. But I just think that's also a big factor as to why Vinny hasn't been as good this season, I think. Obviously, a lot of the spotlight is on Jude, but there's a reason why it's on Jude, because he's the one that's scoring 13 goals in 13 games, has 3 assists. He's literally putting up Ronaldo numbers, not Ronaldo-esque numbers. Not like he's being like Ronaldo. He's putting up the same numbers as Ronaldo. He has more goals than Zidane ever got in one season. He is on the verge already, after just 13 games, of overtaking Michael Owen for the most goals an Englishman has ever scored for Real Madrid in one season. He's already overtaken David Beckham's all-time Real Madrid career goals. You know what I mean? Like, it's wild what he's doing at his age as an Englishman, coming in to a new culture, new environment, coming into the biggest club in the world. You just have to give Jude all the credit and the respect. And also, it's just wild to me how it's his team. Everybody knows it. He's the main man of Real Madrid. And he's come in. He's only played 13 games, and everyone knows he's the guy you have to stop. He's the main man. He's the one that makes Real Madrid tick. And let's just be honest. We all thought he was going to be good. We all thought he made the right decision going to Real Madrid, but we didn't expect this good. I mean, nobody did. There's not a single person on the planet. I don't even think Jude Bellingham's parents thought he was going to be this good. You know what I mean?
It's something that gets thrown out there. It's like, this guy has like Ballon d'Or level talent, but there's a difference of having Ballon d'Or level talent and actually being a front runner or a favorite to win a Ballon d'Or.
The main favorite. He's the favorite right now.
Yeah, right now, I mean, it's still real early, but right now, he's what when in doubt the favorite, just because of the things he does and the way he does them. Because the thing, Holland is still scoring goals, but the way he scores goals is a
It's
bit
different than
different,
Jude.
different than Jude, because Jude is scoring when you need it the most. When Real Madrid need the points or they need a draw, that's when Jude scores. When they need a winner, that's when Jude scores. And that speaks volumes. That's why even when we talked about a bit of the Ballon d'Or race that's basically wrapped up Messi and Holland, was if Holland had those moments in the final of the Champions League, that's going to sway a lot of people if he puts on a masterclass on the biggest stages. But we saw him disappear in the semifinals, and we saw him disappear in the finals. I mean, unfortunately, as great of his numbers are, that's the truth. That's what we saw. We saw him be basically nullified. That's what unfortunately most of them nullified. Inter stopped him.
Real Madrid stopped him. Rudiger stopped him in the first leg. In the second leg, he didn't do anything either.
He didn't do anything, but I mean, overall, it's Jude's team, and as this guy's 20 years old. He's 20.
Younger than us. He's the face of Real Madrid.
He's younger than us, and he's the face of Real Madrid. Look, that makes me feel old. That starts making me feel down. But fuck it, I don't give a shit. To close this out, I think I did have one other point I wanted to make, that a guy who did change the game as soon as he came on, Eduardo Camavinga, and I think for someone in the brass, maybe Carlo Ancelotti, it's time to have a dialogue. Like, it's time to sit down with Camavinga and say, have you heard of a guy named Marcelo? You say, Marcelo was pretty good, right? He was very good, very loved. Maybe it's time for you to be a left back. Because look, I've always been a fan of Mendy. I like Mendy, but it's just time that we need a guy with creativeness, because that's what drove a lot of that three-peat Real Madrid team, the creativeness on that side of the pitch. To have Ronaldo and Marcelo, the creativity was unmatched. And to have Camavinga and Vinny there, that's pretty fucking good. I mean, they're not Marcelo and Ronaldo, but they're still pretty fucking good. I mean, that's what I think they had to slowly move into, because that midfield is fairly so stacked. I mean, if we look at it, I don't know how this is, because there's a lot of questions with Real Madrid about what they're going to do in the summer to come, because there's pushing of that they want Alphonso Davies, but God knows if that will happen, or if there's a lot of things that go on that, or who they're going to sign. Is Mbappe finally going to come? Who fucking knows? There's a lot of questions that have to be answered. Are they going to stick to playing a 4-3-1-2? Because Madrid has always been known for a 4-3-3. I don't know if they're going to go back to it. And if they switch to a three-man midfield, then someone either Valverde, because it's Valverde, Tchouaméni, Jude Bellingham, and Camavinga. That's four people. Someone's got to be, someone's not going to be getting the game time that they want. So if Camavinga wants to play, I mean, out of those four, he's the only one that could play left back, and he plays left back very well. I mean, in this modern day game, we don't really look for we don't have left backs that are true, like lockdown defensive guys like a Ashley Cole or something. That's not really what we see nowadays. We see guys like a Trent Alexander-Arnold, a guy that that they get more praise of how much they push up. Like Cancelo was a guy that was praised when he was at Man City for being the best fullback in the world, because he played both sides and how he pushed forward. Kyle Walker, how he pushes forward. But Kyle Walker was someone that could play defense, but that's what the modern day fullback looks like. A person that's basically a second winger. And that's what Camavinga can do. I think that's what they should try and convince him. I know he says he really doesn't want to, but why? I mean, he plays the best when he's on the left back. I mean, he changed the game. He came on to El Clasico and completely flipped the script. Yeah. I don't know what else could you really want?
Yeah. I mean, you look at a guy like Camavinga. Obviously, I've always rated Camavinga very highly. I talked about him a lot last season. Whether it's left back or midfield, normally he just puts on brilliant performances, time in, time out. And I look at it, in this game, he changed the game coming in at left back. I think back to the World Cup final when he came on at left back for France. Absolutely changed that game. France were down and out. Camavinga comes on. He changes the game from left back. You know how difficult it is to change the game from left back. I understand it's a little bit easier in the modern game, but it's still very difficult. Camavinga does that. He is just a game changer at left back. And look, I understand, honestly, you're used to playing midfield. I wouldn't want to play left back either, but you're just so damn good at it, where it's almost like, if you're Carlo Ancelotti, I know a guy doesn't want to be there, but I'm the manager, and I look at how effective you are there, how you can change the game there. I'm just sticking you there. You know what I mean? Hand in a transfer request if you really don't want to be there. But you are just so good there. Camavinga at left back gives you the best chance to win. Right now, look, I said Ferland Mendy should have been, shipped out of Real Madrid, in the summer. You always, had a soft spot for Mendy, but I said, look, he's just not good enough. Let's just be honest. He's just not good enough. Camavinga, is the best left back on Real Madrid right now. Obviously, if they go ahead and get Alphonso Davies, we're having a whole different conversation. Camavinga can slot into the midfield perfectly fine. But you've got Camavinga. He's brilliant there. I know he doesn't want to be there. But at a certain point, you've just got to say, look, we want to win the Champions League. We want to win La Liga. Look, let's just be honest, we could win the treble. Why not? We could win the treble. Camavinga, it's time for you to go left back. You've changed the game there. You're brilliant there. At a certain point, Carlo Ancelotti just had to say, you know what, I'm sticking you to left back.
And I mean, I even remember towards the goal against Man City in the Bernabeu. I mean, that was driven by Camavinga. I mean, he takes it from left back, drives it down, and passes it to Vinny. He's brilliant, but the only thing that he did get exposed for a defensive quality because that was his first time playing left back. Obviously, he doesn't really defense is not his part his forte. That's not what he really. He can get the job done. He can put his foot. I think there's a bit of the things where he gets caught at is timing in the box. I can notice that when he plays defense that he doesn't really have that instinct yet because he just hasn't really. He's not used to being in the box that much because he's usually in the midfield. But I think there's not really. I don't really get why he doesn't want to because, like you said, I think it gives Real Madrid the best chance to win. Him and Vinny on the wing there would be a great link up. That'd be because they can play great off each other, but I think this is also gonna just depend on how Real Madrid changes. Because obviously, Ancelotti is gonna leave at the end of the season, so we don't know what it looks like. It might be Xabi Alonso, possibly. Who knows what it's gonna be and how he's gonna want to play. So there's a lot of questions that like Real Madrid have because I mean I have a Real Madrid friend that I speak to and it's like what is gonna happen? What do you think is gonna happen? Because basically the consensus is we're going to have to see what happens this season because are they going to go back to a 4-3-3? And if they do, is Valverde going to play on the wing? Is he going to be in the midfield? Is Camavinga going to be left back? There's a lot of things that have to be answered. And not even to mention that who is Real Madrid going to sign because obviously they're going to make some signings, make some moves. Yeah. So it's just very interesting. I think it's not a horrible situation to be in, but I mean, the squad depth, I like the depth. I mean, I like the versatility in the players because like, we have a lot of guys that can really play at a lot of places. We have a lot of like guys that we could just stick there to fix a problem if we need it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I look at Real Madrid and they're look, I've said it before the season. I'll say it again. They're brilliant in every position. They look fantastic, but I still think that when it comes down to it in the Champions League against a team like Man City, against the best of the best, let's say they're playing Bayern Munich or Man City, that the lack of a true number 9, look, they have Joselu, but he's not necessarily the guy that you want leading the line against Europe's elite. I still think that lack, they didn't go and get Harry Kane. They got Joselu instead. Yes, Jude Bellingham is doing great kind of as a false 9. They still have Vinny and Rodrigo playing as a, number 9 role as a striker, I guess, kind of thing. But I just still think that lack of a true number 9 when they're playing Europe's elite in a tight game in the Champions League semifinal or something like that, that still could come back to hurt them. And that ultimately might be the reason why they don't go on to win the Champions League, because I still think, obviously, you don't know what's going to happen in January, but I don't anticipate Real Madrid splashing the cash for a number 9 in January or somebody that's going to be that much of an upgrade on Joselu. I'm talking about signing one of Europe's elite strikers, and that's just not going to happen in January, is it? I still think that could be the thing that holds Real Madrid back, because they're brilliant everywhere. You know how good they are in midfield. You know how good Jude is. You know how good Vinny can be on his day. Rodrigo, we know he can be a difference maker. If Camavinga is playing left back, he's brilliant. They have a good, back line. I mean, Carvajal has turned back the clock. He looks great. He looks like he's back in the 3-peat years, and I don't know what happened because last season I was.
As soon as you give him the armband,
I was over here saying it's time for Camavinga to get out of Real Madrid, and now all of a sudden he's turned back the clock. Carvajal. I was saying it's time for him to get out. And now he's turned back the clock and he's making me eat my words. And obviously they're doing all this without Courtois as well. It's not arguably the best goalkeeper in the world.
In Militao. Yeah, I mean, I think we haven't seen it quite yet because I think that's what I'm more worried about the goalkeeping situation because Kepa has put up
when they're playing a team like Man City or Bayern.
Yeah, some great saves. Kepa's put up some great saves against some teams. I mean, we've seen even in the Clasico, he had a great save off of Araujo. Right there, almost like about 3 yards out, which is a great save. But people don't understand that when Courtois is at Real Madrid, this is a guy that won Man of the Match in a Champions League final,
single-handedly,
with the most saves in Champions League final history. I mean, this guy, when he's fit, he's arguably the second best player in Real Madrid.
Yeah,
I mean, this is how good he's a game changer. I mean, the reason Real Madrid did not lose 7-8-0 to Manchester City was because of Thibaut Courtois.
Yeah, single-handedly won him a Champions League.
I mean, this guy is unbelievable, and yeah, they're making it work right now with Kepa. And Kepa, he's all right, but look, I
We've seen
really
him at
want,
Chelsea. I've seen him
look,
enough. You don't
I
want to
really
rely
want,
on him.
yeah, I really want my main guy back in there for me to feel more safe. And then, like you said, they're making it, they're getting by with Hasselu coming off the bench, but I would it just depends on the game, because I mean it's football, anything could happen, and I think a lot of people would still see Barcelona as an elite team. So Real Madrid have shown they can beat an elite team like Barcelona, like a team that has a great defense. I mean, they were statistically the best defense in Europe last season,
Yeah.
and now we've just picked them apart back-to-back games in their home. So I mean, look, they want to count the cheeseburger, preseason game 3-0. Look, they can do that, but when it matters in cup competition and now in La Liga, we cook, we beat them. So
Yeah.
I trust it against anybody. I think it's going to come down to eventually. I know this is Champions League here, but I think it is going to come down to Real Madrid and Man City again, and we're just going to have to see what happens, because as it is right now, I would fancy Madrid's chances, but that is partial to Man City's injury
They
crisis.
haven't been quite as good. They had injuries, things
Yeah,
like that. But if they're fit,
missing Kevin De Bruyne, I would have liked them to miss Kevin De Bruyne last season, but missing a guy like that, like I
you
always
can't really
said,
replace him. Even Man City, they have all the depth in the world, but you can't
yeah,
replace him.
you can't. You could put Doku there. Like Doku's not fucking Kevin De Bruyne. Like he's not gonna do anything like KDB, because obviously he's a winger. But Kevin De Bruyne, I said, was the best player on City, and now you see people are wondering, oh, why is Haaland struggling? I wonder why. I'm so surprised. I'm shocked.
But
I'm very shocked.
But by the time it gets to the point where those two sides would play in the Champions League, De Bruyne is going to be back fit. He's going to be fine. He's going to have some games under his belt. So as long as no new injuries pop up, for any of Europe's elite, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Obviously, we're talking about the Champions League, the knockout round. We're still months away from that. We're not even hit the new year yet. But obviously, it's just fun to talk about, and it's already something you think about, because I mean, it's football. You're already thinking about these elite games, the best of the best. That's what we all want to see. It's what we're all waiting for at this point. I want to see Bayern Munich play against Real Madrid. I want to see that. I want to see them play against the best. And it goes for any club. I want to see Barca play against the best in the Champions League. I want to see that. So, obviously my club, not going to be there this year, but, it is what it is. I can just have fun talking about it.
You don't have a horse in a race. Honestly, like it's a lot less pressure, I think, on like, dude, you don't know how stressful watching this game was. Like, it was I'm over here at work.
I'm watching Chelsea lose the bloody Brentford blood. You know what I mean?
Like, Brentford, like the expectations go down, but I think it's different when your team is right there in the mix. You're expecting, especially that I hate losing to Barcelona. That's the one. If I had a choice to lose, I'd rather lose 20-0 to Girona than lose the Barca. Like it's just as simple as that. And obviously Jude coming out, like, dude, it's insane. I mean, maybe that's, you look at the bright side here. You don't have the pressure. You don't have the pressure that's there.
It's kind of crazy, just doing the celebration reminded me. This celebration might end up becoming just as iconic as the Sioux.
I mean, Jude's making it super iconic. I mean, he had the moment where he was in an interview talking before a Clasico that his main like the thing he remembers the most was the calm down when Ronaldo did at the Camp Nou, and now Jude had his moment against Barca away from home to be able to hit him with his celebration. It's like, Jude's gonna, and especially he loves hitting that celebration. I mean, every single time it's like without falter. Every time he scores, it's like, what he's gonna do. It's like every single time.
That's how you make it iconic, though.
Yeah, and I just love to see it. I mean, keep doing it. I want to keep seeing it.
I mean, it means he has to keep scoring, and I mean, I don't think he's slowing down. That's the crazy thing. I mean, ultimately, you think of Jude as a midfielder. It's like at some point he's going to stop scoring. You know what I mean? At some point, this purple patch has to end. It's just not ending.
The purple patch is a pretty long purple patch,
and it's just like he just keeps scoring. He's like, might as well put him a bloody striker. You know what I mean? Like he's putting up striker numbers, Ronaldo numbers. Like it's just mad.
And he gets back on defense. Like Jude will move back. That's why, I mean, with him being young, he can run the entire pitch. He doesn't get tired. And the thing is, with even midfielders, when Luka Modric won Ballon d'Or, I don't think he had more than 10 goals. Usually midfielders' impacts on games aren't really seen through the numbers. Yeah. But Jude is doing both.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. I mean, I could have never predicted this. As much as I wanted to say, before it happened, we just got the GOAT. But look, Jude saw the opening there. Messi's gone. Ronaldo's gone.
He
said, you know what? it's my throne. And
Yeah.
Mbappe didn't want to come to Real Madrid, and that's something I'll always knock Mbappe for, because Jude took the pressure on. He took I'm going to the biggest club in the world, the one with the most eyes, the most pressure, 100 million,
Most
20 years
Champions
old,
Leagues.
English. I mean, this is a team that if they don't win everything in the season, it's a failure.
Mhm.
I mean, there's
We
not
talked
more
about it last
pressure.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not any more pressure. I mean, you can win, and Real Madrid won the Copa del Rey and finished second in the league and got to the semifinals of Champions League. That's a failure. They don't give a shit.
They were talking about getting Ancelotti out.
Yeah, they're like sack the manager. You know, we need this and that. So he had that immense pressure, and for him to come there wearing Zidane's number, because obviously they gave him number 5 because that's his idol.
Yeah, that's
And
the
my
reason he
God,
came.
he looks every bit of it. I mean, I told you even like in passing things that I think there's a real shot that he could surpass Zidane, because that's not a crazy thing to say, because yeah, it's 13 games, it's 13 game patch, but he was still brilliant at Dortmund. I mean, people don't understand. He was very, very class at Dortmund. He's good for England, and now that he's got this type of level form, and he keeps it when he goes plays for England. We see him; he's scoring for England. When he goes when he goes to England, he's scoring there too. If he brings that into the Euros, we're talking about a guy that's going to be in a couple World Cups. I mean, this guy he was 19 years old in his first World Cup, so he's going to be able to play in a lot more. And in Euros, I mean, God knows the sky is the limit with Jude Bellingham. I mean, that's just the truth, because he has the luxury of being English, having a very good international team, and then being on the biggest team in the world. You know,
I mean, we're looking at Jude. I think, I'm not going to go ahead and just purely base it off of these 13 games, but I think there's a chance he's going to always have good numbers. I don't know if it's going to be quite this good as consistently for his entire career, but he's going to get good numbers every season, probably until, he's out of his prime, whatever age it is. We're still talking about a long time. We're talking 10 plus years probably. And I think he's going to have the chance to win all of the trophies. I mean, what's stopping him from winning a World Cup? I know, people always want to joke
it's
about England. It hasn't
you know.
happened since 66. But this England team is very good. It's going to be good. England have a very good generation even coming right now, and they have good players coming into it. England is going to be very good for the next 3, 4, 5 World Cups or whatever, while Jude is there. And I think they have a very good chance to win the Euros as well. He could, realistically win a World Cup in the Euros. And then obviously he's with Real Madrid, the biggest club in the world, the club that they're always in the mix to win the Champions League. I mean, they are the club that has the most Champions Leagues. I anticipate them adding to that while he's there. Obviously, it's going to happen at some point. And it's probably going to happen in bunches. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him win 3, 4 Champions Leagues if he stays at Real Madrid till he's 32, 33, 34. That's worth about 14 years at Real Madrid.
14 years.
If you're at Real Madrid for 14 years, it's more than likely you're going to win a handful of Champions Leagues. It's just going to happen. It's natural. It's what you expect, honestly. I mean, if he's at that club for that long and he doesn't come away with a bunch load of Champions Leagues, something went wrong. You know what I mean? Especially when they're still talking about, bringing in more players around them. Mbappe may be on the way. It's always, a joke, but it's still could happen.
Even Hazard won a Champions League. He didn't have to do nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck. I mean, he got carried to a Champions League. I mean, so, that's another wild thing to think about. It's just that Jude has already eclipsed everything Hazard did in 3 years in 13 games.
Yeah.
It's like at that, because it's just like that splits the mentality. It's that Eden Hazard had such a born given talent. I mean, there's a little bit of a waffle here, but talking about Eden Hazard now. But I think it's a good point comparing to Jude, because it's an overarching thing of just Jude's mentality of that, how hard he works. Because I don't think Jude is as gifted. Like you don't see him have the dribbling skill of Eden Hazard. That's something you're born with.
Yeah.
But Jude works so hard to get to the level he is that it's no surprise that
Ronaldo.
It's more, it's like Ronaldo. I mean, it's just, you can't be surprised at the things he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, the sky is truly the limit for him, because I think he's going to have a fantastic international career. He's going to win a couple trophies with England. Honestly, that's going to happen. And then, he's going to win a lot of trophies with Real Madrid. He's going to have a very good chance, if he stays healthy and he stays on this, upward trajectory that he's on, to go down as one of, if not the greatest midfielder of all time. And it's crazy to say it, but he has all the intangibles to do it. He has, the goals. He can create. Has the assist. He can go box to box. He can truly play any role in the midfield. And he's still 20 years old. He's going to win the trophies. He has every chance to go down as the best midfielder in the world for, the next 10 years. And then obviously that's going to put him in the mix to be the best midfielder of all time, above a Zidane, above an Iniesta. It's crazy to say, but It might just
Those,
happen.
those are the guys he's got to go
Those are the
for,
guys
man.
he's going to be in the
Those
mix
are the
with.
guys.
And I think he has not only the chance to be in the mix with them, but he's going to be mentioned when it's all said and done above them. And it's just crazy to say it, but it's truly realistic, I think, at this point. I know it's only 13 games. Some people are going to say it's crazy to be saying it, but you just have to be honest at this point. You know, it's not a purple patch anymore.
Nah, it's not a purple patch. This is what he is. This is what he does.
This is what he
That's
does.
what he does.
JB5 equals CR7. I mean, Vinicius said it.
JB5. You know, that's a pretty good ring to it.
It does. Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber.
But obviously, you know, dragged it on a little bit, but obviously there's just so much to unpack with this game. Haven't really talked about
We haven't really had we haven't had a chance to talk about Jude Bellingham.
But we're back.
A while, yeah.
You know, we're back. We're going to be talking about him a whole lot more, I anticipate. So you're going to have to let us know in the comments what you've thought of Jude Bellingham, what you think of this match, what you think of El Clasico, all of that. Let us know in the comments down below your thoughts. And I think without further ado, we can go ahead and wrap up the video.
Let's get out of here.
So I'm Zach.
I'm G.
I thought you were going to say you're Jude Bellingham GOAT.
I'm Jude Bellingham GOAT.
But we'll see you next time for another video on the channel. Peace.
Peace.